Thank you very much, Marlene, and thank you.
Can you turn off that light? Is this okay?
I think this is fine, unless is it visible?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I'd really like to thank Marlene, Kelly, and all of you for first organizing this absolutely fantastic idea to bring this kind of crowd together, and everyone else for just being here today. My pointer just died on me. I mean, the battery must have disappeared. It was okay when I checked it before I left, but it doesn't work that way. But never mind. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm a schizophrenic person, in fact. On the one hand, I'm a designer, trained as an architect. And on the other hand, for the last few decades, I've been a researcher and developed a research career. So I never know exactly which part of me is going to pop up when I do things, but you'll notice that. What you see here is the hand of Mies van der Rohe, who used to sketch. Is this a bit off thing? Or is it just working? Yeah, there you go. Who used to sketch a lot with charcoal, which is not that common for architects, but he did, and I just found that this is a very telling illustration. A little bit of history. We won't go into this in detail, but Barbara just mentioned, and thank you, Barbara, for she's not here, for reminding us that although drawing was with us almost from the dawn of history, and actually prehistoric drawings in caves, which someone alluded to yesterday, are fantastic, but sketching in the sense that we understand it today, and I'll try to define it in a minute, actually only do exist since we've started using paper for that purpose. Although paper was invented in China in the 2nd century, it was handmade, it was fragile, it was expensive, and was used mainly for purposes other than drawing, mainly for writing manuscripts. And then different implements were developed in order to make lines, write and draw on paper. And of course, there were drawings on handmade paper that existed way before the revolution in the 15th century, where paper became industrially produced in Italy after the invention of the moving type. So of course, this invention actually was motivated by the wish to print books, but the artists and designers soon discovered that this was a fantastic medium for them, and because it was for the first time affordable and of good enough quality, designers sort of adopted it very, very quickly, and that's when we see the first sketches, or the kinds of sketches that are made in order to prepare for a new design. And we've seen several Leonardo sketches, because he was one of the first sketchers. This generation was the first sketching generation, and this happens here in the last quarter of the 15th century, a very important point in time. And of course, we see the development of the pencil, and we see the appearance of what we now call trace paper or sketching paper, which in the case of the US comes in yellow trace rolls mainly. In other places it comes in sheets. And this, not many people know that, but the first application of semi-transparent paper for the purpose of design and art, in fact, is in the early 19th century already. For instance, the painter Degas used it when he sketched his dancers very rapidly in the dance studio, but one at a time, because of course they move so fast you can't get more than one. And when he went back to his studio, and wanted to arrange a composition, he took the trace papers so that he could turn them over and get a mirror picture if that served his compositions. And of course, the more important invention of our era, which actually starts over 50 years ago, is the tablet and the ability to make digital drawings, and that is going to affect the way we sketch already today, but also in the future, but I'm not going to dwell on that in this talk. There are all kinds of sketches. Someone asked yesterday about the difference between drawing and sketches, and I think that's a very important question. I'm using here a taxonomy that was developed by Ferguson, who talked about 3 types of sketches. There are other taxonomies, but this one talks about the thinking sketch, the talking sketch, and the prescriptive sketch. If we go backwards, prescriptive, of course, if you want to tell someone, give someone sort of instructions of how to make something, and that is as true in art, for instance. Smith here is a sculptor, as it is in design. The talking sketch is for the purpose of communication. You want to share ideas with other people, and they might be clients, colleagues, or whoever. So you have to make a sketch that is sufficiently coherent for other people to understand what you mean. And then there's the thinking sketch, which is what I will be talking about today, which is really meant just for oneself, to help one think. That's why it is called a thinking sketch. And we see here again an early 16th century sketch by Da Vinci. Of course, I could have picked any other one, but the reason I picked this one is because you see that many of these little sketches are not really coherent to us. We wouldn't know what they mean exactly if we're not told, but that doesn't really matter to Da Vinci because he did them only for himself. And another feature of this sketch here is that actually we shouldn't talk about a sketch, but a series of sketches, which is very typical to the way designers work. They don't make one sketch. They're engaged in a search for ideas, and they make any number of sketches on one or any number of sheets. So what is the thinking sketch, which is also called a study sketch, and that was also alluded to, I think, yesterday. And this is a definition, a working definition that I use, because it is absolutely the case that different people mean different things by the word sketch. So when I say sketch here, I mean a rapid manual drawing on paper, or it could be on another surface, which serves the purpose of exploration and experimentation at no or little risk or cost, and facilitates the emergence of design ideas. And a sketch, and that's also something to note, it can confirm to the laws of projections, orthogonal projections, or it may not. You know, certain designers have their own shorthand. If you look, for instance, at sketches made by architects like Daniel Libeskind or Toomey, they have nothing to do with the normal projections that we all know. Just a few examples. Not that I'm saying anything new, but for those of you who are not designers, it is quite remarkable to notice that for 500 years, people have used this technique of helping themselves think by using sketches. Right, thank you. And on the top here, on the left, we have, again, a Da Vinci sketch, and on the right, Da Vinci's, again, 16th century, and on the right, we have a James Sterling, a sheet of sketches for the Clore Gallery. This is from 1980, and on the bottom here, we have on the left-hand side a Michelangelo sketch from about the same era as the Da Vinci one, 1528-09. And on the right, we have a sketch for the Los Angeles Municipal Airport done by Lloyd Wright, not to be confused with Frank Lloyd Wright. There was an architect called Lloyd Wright, and that's from 1930. And I've paired them together because of certain compositional likeness, of course, which has nothing to do with the contents of these things, but just to demonstrate that actually what people did in the 16th century and even a little bit earlier is pretty much the same as what people have been doing since then, certainly until the end of the 20th century, but also going into the 21st century. Now, why is sketching so prominent? Why do people use it? There must be a good reason for using sketching if people do that, choose to make sketches. After all, no one forces them to. And I would like to claim that when one makes their own sketches, one reads off the sketch more information than was invested in its making. I mean, of course, when you do make a sketch, there's some information in your mind that goes into making that sketch. But when you read off of it, there's more information there. Or at least you continue to sketch until there's more information there than you've actually put into making it. And to express this in different terms, we look here at a diagram drawn by Georg Kaufmann, who was a Norwegian cognitive psychologist, who is interested in imagery, mental imagery, and in problem solving. And what he says is that the mode in which you deal with representations in problem solving has a lot to do with how novel the problem that you're trying to solve is. So if it's a very simple and well-defined problem, a linguistic representation may be quite adequate. If the problem is more novel, then visual imagery is very helpful in order to solve the problem. And when the problem is even yet more novel, and you have no clue when you get the problem as to how to solve it and what the solution might look like at the end of the day, then overt exploratory activity is a good strategy to tackle the problem. And of course there are overlaps, as you see in the diagram. And I would like to take this into design. When he drew that, he didn't have design in mind in particular. He talked about problem solving in general. And in design, I would like to say that the linguistic representation, of course, is equal to us talking, maybe to our colleagues, to our clients, to whoever is part of our team or partner in solving the problem. When we're contemplating drawings, that may be precedents of all types. I think you will mention work that was there before, right, that you look at. For the timing, I'll call it precedents, if you don't mind. Then visual imagery comes into play. But when that's not enough, when we resort to sketching, because sketching is an overt exploratory activity. And Will showed us how you, for instance, you can inhabit your designs by sketching in furniture, imagining the trajectories of people walking through the building, etc. So to go back to something that was alluded to yesterday again, children. Children, until the age of about 3, don't make representational drawings, but they scribble. They scribble, and on the left here, as well as on the right, you see very typical children's scribbles. Very young children, you can see This one is 2 years and 4 months old. This one doesn't say, but it's about the same. And this is taken from a very interesting study done by Adi Jaffa, Levine, and Solomon about